Hey everyone, Andrea here. Welcome to Karcher Makes. This is the place where I like to talk about all the crafty things. That is almost always knitting, but sometimes it's other things like crochet, spinning, weaving, sewing. If it's crafty, I love it, and I hope you love it here too. So for today's episode number 25, we are talking about all the WIPS. Spring is upon us, and castonitis seems to always come with that in my household. Something about the shift from winter into spring, from snow into sun, something about that just drives this need for me to create new things along with it. And I have all these WIPs now, and I had no intention of starting some of these, so let's talk about it. I don't have any actual finished objects this week, but I do have a half finished object, so let's talk about that. So this is my half object. It is a jelly roll sock by Bryner, and this pattern has been in my Ravelry queue for at least since I was living at my old house, and I moved to this house in 2016, so at least since 2016. Forever. Probably before that. But I just kind of had a desire to start a shorty sock project. And as I was kind of going through my patterns, I had two of Mara's patterns in my queue. This one, which is the jelly roll socks, and then I also had another one by her called the Rose City Rollers. And this one kind of interested me because it has this kind of section of ribbing in the arch, and I have really high arches in my feet, like unusually high arches. So I really wanted to try that out and see how I like it and if that's something I want to incorporate into future socks. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that once these are a finished object and some, changes or modifications that I would make the next time I make them. But let's just talk about these for now. So like I mentioned, this is the Jelly Roll Socks by Bryner. And it is a paid pattern on Ravelry. Its current price is $5.50. And let's just talk about the price of this pattern for a second. I feel like there's, on social media right now, a lot of discourse about pricing of craft patterns. Crochet, knitting, sewing, I kind of put that all in the same bucket. But with this pattern, you get a lot of options, and I feel like the fact that it's $5.50 is a good deal given the fact that you're getting so many different options to go with it. So for example, it comes with two completely different heel options, one of which is this color work heel, which was what I chose to do on these socks. It comes with 3 arch options, so this ribbing section right here. There's 3 different options for that, and it comes with 2 different toe options. And normally, patterns don't come with all of that. It kind of just has the standard heel, the standard toe, and then, the foot section. And, I kind of appreciate that amount of work that went into it, and I didn't have a problem paying the $5.50 for it. So there's that. Let's talk about the yarn here. This yarn is Rising Tide Fiber Company. The base is Talbot Fingering, which is, I'm pretty sure, an 80-20, although I'm questioning that at the moment. I'll correct it below. But the colorway is called She Put Him on the Map. And it's this beautiful, speckly, purpley pink, and then I'm not sure if this is going to come up very well, but it also has the tiniest hints of green and yellow speckles also. Now, that is very much a Taylor Swift reference, and if you know, you know. I'm not a Swiftie. I feel like she came out a little late in my life for me to truly be into that, but I don't not like her music. I'm just not a fanatic about it. But there is that. So I have the other half of this project in my bag by Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel. And I'm not going to read out loud what this bag says in case there's little ears listening in your household, but I'll just give you a look. I got this from Amy Beth at the 2019 Needles Up event before Maryland Sheep and Wool, and I saw this and snatched it immediately. It's perfect. But for sock number 2, I've managed to get through the cuff so far. And there that is. And it's a very interesting construction for this rolled cuff, and I don't want to share too much because it is a paid pattern. I don't want to give away all the secrets, but I've never done this sort of kind of rolled edge before on a project, and I kind of love it. It's very easy, very quick, and it's enjoyable. And I like the way it looks. It looks fun. Next up, let's talk about the progress on my Petal Party crop. So this was a new cast on for the last episode, and I have made quite a bit of progress. Now, I could have gotten more done had I not cast on and worked on all of these other things, but I feel like the progress is going well. And what I will do is I will insert, I have a picture of this on a hanger, and I feel like it gives you a better look at the construction and how it sits and how it will sit on the body. But this is a really good example of how a pattern and a yarn can pair so perfectly together. So this yarn is Kim Dye's Yarns. The colorway is called Bunch of Zinnias, and the base is called Napoleon Sock, and it's a 80-20 merino silk, and it is just beautiful. So this is a cropped short sleeve sweater. I hesitate to call it a sweater because it is fingering weight. Maybe a top is a better way, a better description for it. But I am going to extend it ever so slightly so that it's not as cropped. I prefer a top that hits at least at my hip. So I will be adding some repeats to the body section here that I'm on, but all that to say, I'm about halfway through the body section, so it does work up very quickly, and had I not been distracted by all these other WIPs, I would have been further along. But in any case, I love it, and my goal is, I'm going to set an arbitrary goal for this because I work better with deadlines. My arbitrary goal for this is going to be to finish this by the end of the month. At the time I'm recording it, it's March 14th. So I feel like a little over 2 weeks is more than enough time to get through the rest of the sweater, and then I haven't even looked yet. I feel like there's some pickups around the neck that need to be done, and then possibly the sleeves and the bottom. So we'll see. Hopefully I can get this done by the next sit down podcast video, but if not, definitely by the end of the month. Next up, another new cast on that I talked about wanting to do this, and I had no intention of starting it anytime soon, but then I just decided, hey, you know what would be nice? Let's cast on another project. So that's what I did. This is a bag from the Scrappy thread. Rainbow is my favorite color. Unicorns are my favorite animal. Actually, I have some unicorns going on here on my shirt today, but I don't think they make bags anymore, but I really like this size. This is a great size for socks and hats. So this project, which isn't very far along, is the Shiftalong hat by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and I've managed to get through the brim of this hat so far. I'm ready to start the actual body. Is that what it's called with the hat? Like the body of the hat? I'm now questioning everything I know about hat architecture. I'm ready to start the actual hat part of the hat. This is all I have left of this one color that I started with. And then I have these 3 leftovers from 2 different projects. These 2 are from the Shift cowl that I recently made. And then this one is from a scarf that I wove a couple years ago. But there's that. It's well on its way as I drop all of the scrap yarns, and I plan on submitting this to the Scrappy cowl hosted by Jenny Lee Knits, the Wyoming Knits podcast. She has a Scrappy knit-along, make-along in her Ravelry forum, and I plan on submitting this for that once we get going a little further. For this hat, I had to rip it out once already. I originally cast on the adult small size. So the difference between the adult small and then the child size. So this is the child size. I started with the adult small, and I felt like with I'm pretty sure this is a 1x1 rib for the brim. I felt like it was too large for my head. I sort of got through all the repeats for the brim. I tried it on while it was still on the needles, and it just kind of felt like it was a little loose. And I understand that because this is non-superwash yarn that I could maybe try to shrink it, felt it a little bit, but I got too scared. So I ripped it all back and I recast on the child size, which isn't really surprising for me because all of my baseball hats are child size hats. So I guess I just have a small head. It looks ginormous on this camera, but I guess it's smaller than it appears, kind of like in a rear view mirror. But this is the child size small. What I may end up doing is when I start the actual body pattern repeats next, if I have to, I will add in the remaining number of stitches to make it the adult small. That way the brim is tighter, and then at least the body of the hat will be, you know, kind of more room in it. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I may end up ripping this out again. We'll see. Okay, the final whip, and this is a forever whip. So I did a video last year about all my forever whips, and a forever whip for me is just a project that I started, and almost all of them are blankets, and they're just projects that tend to go on and on and on until maybe they get finished one day. This is one of those projects, and it's in this lamb bag from the Shepherd's Farm. I don't even know what it was. It was like an event at the Frederick Fairgrounds, and it was all of these kind of farms selling farm things. And there was yarns, there were beer, there were flowers and plants, and all of anything farm related, it was there. But this bag came from that. And the project is, and this is getting quite unwieldy. It's so big. This is my corner to corner crochet blanket. So I also mentioned in a prior video from last year that when I kind of work through my scraps and the hook is stuck in my magic knot ball, y'all. It is like stuck in there. There we go. So I mentioned in that video that as I work through my yarn, the primary project is where the yarn journey begins. And then it gets put into a scrap project, and then it gets put into Battenberg squares, and then it gets put into whatever other scrappy projects that I want to add it to. But the final project that all of those leftovers go into are these magic knot balls that goes into this blanket. So this is the scraps of the scraps of the scraps, the leftovers of the leftovers. This is the final stop for any yarn that comes into my stash. So here's where I'm at. I've managed to add quite a few rows to this since the last time I talked about it a year ago. But again, there's no firm deadline for this. I'm just working through the decreases, the double decreases on both edges to kind of square it back up and work it back down to the opposite corner. But these are so many yarns and so many memories in this blanket. So these are all fingering weight yarns, and I'm not holding it double. In hindsight, I probably should have held it double and then used a bigger hook, and it would have been done a lot quicker, and used up a lot more yarn. But I just make these magic knot balls, and I'm using this hook. Look how cute this is with the little bees. Perfect for spring, right? Spring has sprung. And it's a size D3 hook. I don't know if that's even going to show up, but size D3 hook. And I'm just following a corner to corner crochet video that I found on YouTube, and it's so easy. Once you get going, it's very simple. Although the decreases that happen here now at the end of each row, I really got to kind of think about, because I don't do it enough to keep it memorized in my brain, but I just refer back to the video to see how to do the decreases. So there's that. I've been slowly adding some rows when I think about it to this. And I don't know, I wanted, in my 2025 goals video, I mentioned wanting to finish one forever whip this year. So my goal due date for this is to have this done by the end of this year. Granted, it's only March, and like I said, I'm working the double decreases now, so in theory that should be quite doable. We'll see what practice turns out to be. So those are all the many whips that I have in progress, and I've just been really enjoying starting new projects. Again, that Calm Down cardigan with the Feederbrook Farm mill ends, it's calling to me. I have the yarn cakes sitting on my dining room table, which, by the way, we use once a year, maybe twice a year, but I walk by there every day and they're like, cast us on, start us. So I've been trying to avoid it. The pressure is strong. I'm trying to focus in at least on these, and then, you know, I just really want to start that project. So let's talk a little bit of stash enhancement. I did have some yarn come in this, actually it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't opened it yet because I wanted to share it here with you guys. So this is, look how cute this paper is. I love lemons. Lemon is one of my favorite flavors. So this is the Warm Hug Club by Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and it's a 3-month subscription, but it ships every other month. So February, April, and then June, I'll get one of these. And what I chose to get is the DK weight self-striping. I had done that with the intention of making socks, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, there's a lot more that you can do with a DK self-striping yarn than just make socks. You can make a hat, you can make mittens, you can make a scarf, you know, the possibilities are endless. They don't have to be socks. Now, they're probably going to be socks, but we'll see. Each color is obviously a surprise. We don't know what we're gonna get. Lisa did have like a picture as a theme for it, and the theme is, I don't know if I mentioned this, warm hugs. So I don't know about y'all, but the way the world is going right now, we could all use a warm hug, and this is gonna be the facilitator of that for me. So again, I haven't opened this yet. I'm gonna be just as surprised as you, so let's get into it. It's so pretty, y'all. Look at this. And it comes with 2 minis. I didn't know that. I don't think I paid attention to the listing. Apparently it comes with 2 minis. So again, Fiber Nymph Dye Works. This is the Warm Hug Club for February 2025. The color is called Cozy Up, and it's these oranges and greens and yellows. I love orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors. And then this red and orange mini. How fun is that? It's 5 stripes. And then with the 2 minis, that gives me a lot of possibilities. So there's that. Now it also came with, and I don't know if I want to share this. I want to read it first, but it comes with like a little newsletter. I'll hold it back here. It comes with this newsletter, which is so fun. And you know, I really appreciate the time and effort that Lisa really puts into this. This is really special. So reading through the newsletter a little bit more, she talks about the inspiration behind these colors. So this was inspired by some of the late winter comforts, tea or another warm beverage of your choice, lemons, orange gold embers in the fireplace, a soft fuzzy gray yarn on her needles as she knits something warm and woolly, and then the green of her house plants. Love it. That's amazing. So, I don't know. What do you guys think this should be? I feel like it should be socks. It's probably going to be socks. After all that, it's probably going to be socks. So that's all I have for you this week in terms of the actual making portion of this program. Now, let's talk about life real quick. So, this week, I got a little surprise from my boss. He mentioned on an all hands town hall type call, he was like, oh, it's Andrea's service anniversary, 21 years. And I was kind of surprised because I really don't track that kind of stuff. And I had no idea that it was my service anniversary. So when he mentioned it, I was like, really? Are you sure? Did you make that up? Why do you know this? So 21 years at my current job. Now, the kind of funny part with that is it's actually 25 years. So I started at this company as an independent contractor, and then they hired me on as a full-time employee after 4 years, but they didn't bridge my service time in the process. So technically it's 25 years. And over those 25 years, I've held a lot of different roles. I've moved around to a lot of different organizations, so I've really got to see and experience a lot of different things in the business and in the industry. So it's been a wild ride. If they would have told me on my first day of work there in 2000 that I would still be there 25 years later, I would have probably laughed them in the face. But I'm still there. It's still good. There's a little bit of, I don't know, unrest, maybe too strong of a term, but there's some concerns just with what the US government is doing, because in my industry, we are highly regulated by the government, and we do have a lot of federal contracts. So there's a lot of unknowns currently happening, and, you know, unknowns with your job are very scary, and we don't know what's going to happen. I'm just taking it day to day, and I'm just really grateful that I have my yarn and my crafting to keep me sane. If it wasn't for that, I really don't know what I would do, and I don't know how I would be coping. But truly, honestly, you know, knitting, crochet, all the crafty things, making these videos for you guys, that has really kind of helped my mental health stay on an even keel and not get too worried about all the things that are happening in the world today and happening with my job. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So in other life stuff that is maybe not as depressing. So spring is here. Technically, it's not spring for another week, but the weather has really warmed up here where I am in South Central Pennsylvania, and we need to start our garden prep process. So I have a fairly large garden in my backyard. It's fenced off with a 3-ish foot high fence, and the deer keep getting into it, and last year was the year that they just decimated the whole thing. So this year I think we're going to rebuild the garden, make it a higher fence, hopefully, to keep the daggone deer out. Like, I don't mind that they come through the yard, and I love it when they come through the yard. And last year, a mama deer left her baby in my yard, like a little tiny baby deer, a little fawn, all day, like all by itself. She left it there. She was like, hey, watch my kid for me. I'm gonna go have some snacks and meet up with my girlfriends. So I don't mind them being in the yard. I just don't want them eating my my garden. So we're gonna have to maybe do some work there, and of course that's all work that takes away from my crafting and knitting time. But I really enjoy the garden. I enjoy making things with the food that I grow, truly farm to table. Like, it was in the backyard and then it was on my dinner plate in less than a half hour. So I really enjoy that. And we really need to get out there and get started, because here where I am, technically I'm in zone 7A, but really it's 6 or 7. Like, I'm right on the border, so it could go either way. And our last frost date is at the end of April. I usually try to get everything planted by like the first week of May, and normally that's enough time that the frost doesn't really matter, and you know, we're done with that at that point. But I really want to get some things planted this year. I want to do tomatoes, I want to do peppers. Those are usually my 2 go-tos, but I may also want to try beets again. I grew some beets, I don't even know, like 3 or 4 years ago. The deer ate them all, decimated. They were there one day, the next day it was like they were never even planted, like gone. Not a single scrap of beet left, not a leaf, not a root, nothing. So I really got to figure out the deer situation. But that's what we're going to be working on here soon at my house. So if you guys have gardens, share below. What do you like to plant? I know depending on what area of the world that you're in, there's, you know, things that grow better in areas than others. And just kind of share. Let's share below what everybody's planning. So that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all so much. And I'm gonna go now and work on my petal party crop and see how far I can get with it, while trying to ignore the sway of the Cedarbrook Farm cakes that are sitting on my table. I'm gonna try to avoid that. Stay tuned for some new videos coming up. I'll be sharing a video soon about the Knit for Food knitting marathon that's coming up in April. Stay tuned for that, and then just come back and see how I've been making out with all of the WIPS. I'll see you guys next week, and until then, happy making.